For 7 years, my grandson Leo had never uttered a single word. The doctors called it selective mutism, a psychological defense mechanism triggered by extreme anxiety or trauma. My daughter, Sarah, and her husband, Mark, always sighed heavily whenever they brought him to my house, constantly complaining about how exhausting it was to raise a child who refused to communicate. They painted themselves as long-suffering, saintly parents, and I, naturally, believed them. Every weekend, they would drop Leo off at my quiet suburban home, claiming they needed a mental health break from the stress. I loved Leo fiercely. We communicated through smiles, gentle nods, and the quiet comfort of baking cookies together. He was a sweet, observant boy, but his absolute silence always broke my heart. Then came a rainy Tuesday afternoon that changed everything. Sarah and Mark dropped Leo off unexpectedly. Mark seemed uncharacteristically agitated, pacing near the front door, while Sarah kept checking her watch, her face pale and tense. "We have an urgent business dinner, Mom," Sarah whispered hurriedly, kissing my cheek with cold lips. "We'll be back late tomorrow." Before I could even ask for details, they rushed out the front door, the heavy click of the lock echoing through the foyer. I turned around to look at Leo. He was standing by the window, his tiny hands pressed against the glass, watching their car speed away down the driveway. The moment the taillights vanished past the front gates, something extraordinary happened. Leo let out a long, shaky breath. His shoulders sagged, and the rigid tension in his little body completely melted away. He turned around, looked directly into my eyes, and cleared his throat. "Grandma," he said. His voice was small, raspy from years of disuse, but incredibly clear. I froze, the dish towel slipping from my hands onto the kitchen floor. My heart hammered against my ribs. I couldn't move, terrified that if I blinked or spoke, the illusion would shatter. "Leo," I whispered, my eyes filling with tears. You can speak." Leo took a quick step toward me, his expression suddenly shifting from a child's innocence to one of intense, desperate urgency. He grabbed my hand with surprising strength. "Grandma, you have to listen to me," he pleaded, his voice trembling. "I only pretend to be mute. If I talk at home, Daddy hits me, and Mommy tells me I'm a bad boy. They make me stay quiet so nobody finds out their secrets." I gasped, a wave of sickness washing over me as the horrifying truth about my daughter and son-in-law began to unravel. But before I could even process the heartbreak of his abuse, Leo squeezed my fingers tighter, pulling me toward the kitchen door. "No, Grandma, look at me," Leo said, his eyes wide with terror. "We have to leave the house right now. Daddy and Mommy aren't at a business dinner. I heard them talking in the car on the way here. Daddy said your heart medicine is too expensive, and they need your inheritance money to pay off his gambling debts. He said today is the perfect day because of the heavy rain." My breath caught in my throat. "What do you mean, Leo?" "Daddy went into your basement while Mommy was talking to you at the front door," Leo whispered, tears finally spilling down his cheeks. "He did something to the big white tank down there. He told Mommy it would look like a terrible accident, and the gas would make you fall asleep forever. Grandma, please, the air already smells funny. We have to run." As if on cue, a faint, sweet, chemical odor began to drift up from the basement vents. My mind raced. The plumbing issue Mark claimed to check on for 2 minutes before leaving wasn't a favor at all, it was a death sentence. The sheer malice of my own daughter's betrayal struck me like a physical blow, but looking at Leo's brave, terrified face, I didn't have time to cry. Safeguarding my grandson became my only instinct. I grabbed my purse, scooped Leo up into my arms, and rushed out into the pouring rain. We didn't stop running until we reached the safety of my neighbor's house, where we immediately called the police and the fire department. An hour later, emergency responders confirmed a catastrophic, deliberate gas leak in my basement that would have easily killed me in my sleep within hours. Sarah and Mark were arrested later that evening at a motel just 2 towns away, caught red-handed with a forged copy of my will in their car. Sitting in the safety of a police station, wrapped in a warm blanket, Leo held my hand tightly. He didn't look like a scared, mute little boy anymore. He looked like a survivor. His silence hadn't been a disability, it had been his armor. And the very first words he chose to speak hadn't just broken his chains, they had saved my life.